They laughed when she mopped their floors. They mocked her daughter in hallways, slammed lockers, and said she'd never be more than a janitor's kid. But what they didn't know is that the woman scrubbing their toilets held a secret title, one powerful enough to silence them all. And the day she walked into that school in a black judge's robe, the entire room forgot how to laugh. "You don't belong here," sneered Chloe, flipping her silky blonde hair as she knocked the mop bucket over. Dirty water splashed across the hallway, soaking Maya's shoes and skirt. Laughter erupted all around. Maya stood frozen, clutching the mop. Her eyes stung, not from the filth, but the shame. The same shame she carried every single day she walked these marble school floors. Her mother, the janitor, had worked here for 10 years. And everyone made sure Maya never forgot it. "She probably eats lunch in the janitor's closet," one boy snorted. "She smells like bleach," another added. Maya said nothing. Her silence only fueled their cruelty. Her dark brown eyes lowered as she slowly bent to clean the mess they had made, again. But what no one knew, was the secret her mother made her swear to keep. A secret Maya had carried since she was 8. One that could shake this school, and the entire city, to its core. Earlier that morning, Maya had walked into school with a book clutched to her chest. She wore hand-me-down shoes, the soles nearly gone. As she passed through the gates of Westmont Elite Academy, a place where politicians' kids, CEOs' daughters, and tech millionaires' sons studied, she looked invisible. To everyone but the janitors. One of them, Mr. Albert, smiled and nodded. "Hold your head high, little one." She smiled faintly. He was one of the few who treated her like a person. Not like a stain. Meanwhile, inside the school's front office, Principal Hawthorne flipped through Maya's file. Scholarship student. Mother, cleaning staff. No connections. No donors. Humph. He had always resented her presence. At lunch, Maya sat alone again. The other students crowded around Chloe, who flaunted her designer bag and belittled everyone beneath her. When Maya got up to leave, Chloe stuck out her foot. Maya tripped. Her tray crashed. Food splattered. Everyone roared with laughter. Maya stood silently. She looked around, taking it all in. Then, she whispered to herself, "They don't know." That night, in a small 2-room apartment, Maya's mom sat quietly polishing her shoes. Her blue janitor uniform hung behind her. Next to it, a crisp black robe. The kind only one type of woman in the country could wear. "You okay?" her mom asked gently. Maya nodded. "They humiliated me again today." Her mother didn't flinch. She looked up, her voice firm. "Soon, they'll know exactly who you are." The next morning, Maya stood in front of the mirror, brushing her hair in silence. Her mother came up behind her, adjusted the collar of her faded school uniform, and said softly, "You're not what they call you. You're what you survive." Maya nodded, swallowing back the ache in her throat. They walked together to the school gates like always, her mother splitting off to the staff entrance, pushing her cart of cleaning supplies. Maya entered through the front doors, where parents dropped off their kids in luxury cars and SUVs. As she walked past, one mother whispered to her child, "Stay away from that girl. She's the janitor's daughter." Inside the classroom, the cruelty continued. "Don't sit near her," Chloe told a new student. "She smells like cleaning chemicals." Maya sat quietly, gripping her pencil. But then, something strange happened. The school's intercom crackled to life, "Attention staff and students. A special guest will visit our school this Friday. A nationally recognized judge from Washington will be addressing the senior class during assembly." Everyone buzzed with excitement. Chloe rolled her eyes. "Bet it's just some old man talking about boring laws." Maya looked down at her notebook, but couldn't help the faint curve of a smile. That evening, Maya's mom returned from her night shift unusually late. She wore a long coat and dark sunglasses. Maya raised an eyebrow. Her mother sighed. The courthouse called again. They want me on that civil rights panel after the speech. Maya sat up. You're really doing it? Her mother looked at her. I told them yes. Maya's heart thudded. This would be the first time anyone at her school saw her mother as more than the woman who scrubbed toilets. More than the woman pushing a mop. Friday arrived. The school buzzed with tension. Security guards lined the halls. Teachers wore formal suits. Principal Hawthorne kept looking at his watch. Where is this judge? He muttered. Meanwhile, in the girls' locker room, Chloe cornered Maya. Why do you look so calm today, maid girl? She spat. Think your mop-wielding mommy's gonna save you? Maya looked her dead in the eye. She already has. The auditorium filled with students and faculty. Phones were out. Teachers whispered. Then the side door opened. A woman stepped in, flanked by 2 security officers. She wore a black robe, her head high. Her hair was pulled into a tight bun. Her heels echoed across the stage floor. Gasps filled the room. One student whispered, "Wait, isn't that the janitor?" Chloe's jaw dropped. Maya sat in the front row. Her hands didn't shake this time. Her mother took the podium, adjusted the mic, and said calmly. You may know me as the woman who cleaned your hallways. But you don't know my story, yet. My name is Justice Nadine Foster, the woman said into the microphone, her voice steady, deep, and calm. I've served on the federal bench for 9 years, and I also mopped your hallways every morning at 5 a.m. Dead silence. Even the teachers stared, stunned. A few dropped their pens. Principal Hawthorne's mouth hung open. Chloe blinked like she was watching a movie. Justice Foster continued, eyes locked on the audience. I was once told, as a young black girl, that I would never succeed. That I'd never rise above the limits society placed on me. She turned toward Maya, then slowly back to the crowd. But I didn't let their words write my future. And neither should any of you. Maya sat frozen. Her mother, her quiet, humble mother, was no longer invisible. The students whispered among themselves. She's a judge. How did no one know? Wait, is that Maya's mom? A few heads turned toward Maya now, with new eyes. Not pity. Not disgust. Something else. Recognition. But Chloe stood up from her seat. This is a joke, right? I mean, she's been cleaning this school forever. That's not real. Justice Foster looked at her coolly. I chose this job to be close to my daughter. To understand what she faces. And to show her that no job is beneath anyone, especially those who rise above it. The auditorium erupted in applause. Even some teachers stood. Chloe sat back down, red-faced and shaking. Back in the hallway after the assembly, Maya opened her locker as students passed her, this time, not laughing or throwing paper at her, but nodding. One boy even said, "Your mom's amazing." For the first time in years, Maya felt like she was breathing fresh air. But the story wasn't over yet. Later that day, she was called into the principal's office. Mr. Hawthorne looked nervous. His tone was overly polite now. Miss Foster, I didn't realize your mother had such credentials. We, didn't mean any disrespect. Maya smiled softly. You never asked who she was. You just assumed. He opened a drawer. I'd like to nominate you for our school's student honor board. Would that interest you? Maya didn't answer. She just looked at the janitor's badge that still sat on her mom's work uniform, and nodded. That night, Maya and her mom sat on their small balcony. You didn't have to do that, Maya said. I did, her mom replied. Not to impress them. But to free you from their shadow. Maya leaned her head on her mother's shoulder, watching the stars above a city that finally saw them clearly. The Monday after the assembly, Maya stepped onto campus, and something had changed. Not just the way people looked at her, but the way she looked at herself. No longer did she hunch her shoulders or keep her gaze down. She walked upright, her chin lifted, her steps calm but sure. The whispers followed her, but they were different now. Is that the judge's daughter? She's actually kinda cool. She sat through all that bullying and never said a word. That's boss-level calm. Some of the same students who used to mock her now tried to sit beside her in class. One even offered her a snack. Maya simply smiled politely but didn't forget. Because underneath their sudden respect, she still saw the old glances. The judgment wasn't gone, it was just dressed nicer. Meanwhile, Chloe sat in the guidance counselor's office, arms crossed. I didn't know she was someone important, Chloe said defensively. I was just joking. Mrs. Langley, the counselor, folded her hands. That's the problem, Chloe. You only think people deserve kindness if they're important. She's a janitor's kid. She's also the daughter of a Supreme Court judge. And more importantly, she's a human being. Chloe said nothing. In civics class later that week, the teacher asked the students to research a legal figure who'd made a lasting impact. Maya hesitated. Then she raised her hand. Can we write about someone local, someone we actually know? The teacher nodded. And Maya began her project. The woman who cleaned our floors and stood above the law. She printed photos of her mother, both in janitor uniform and in full judicial robes. She wrote about dignity, sacrifice, and dual identity. When she presented it to the class, the room was silent. By the end, even Chloe didn't look up. That Friday, a news crew arrived. Westmont Academy was hosting its first public civic panel, and Maya's mom had been invited to speak. As she sat in front of cameras, reporters asked, "Why hide your identity for so long?" She smiled. Because my title doesn't define me. My choices do. I wanted my daughter to learn that power without humility is worthless. The video went viral overnight. Comments flooded in. She's the real superhero. Tears. What a queen. Every school needs this message. But not everyone was celebrating. Principal Hawthorne sat in his office, reading a letter. The school board had launched a formal review. He knew why. He had overlooked Maya. Allowed bullying. Failed to protect dignity. And now, the world was watching. By the next week, Maya's story wasn't just local news, it was national. Headlines across social media read. Judge worked as janitor for 10 years to stay close to daughter in elite school. From mops to the Supreme Bench, a mother's quiet power. The school's inbox flooded with interviews, requests, and even donations. But Maya stayed grounded. One afternoon, as she passed the hallway where she used to mop floors after class, she paused. Her mother had left her a note on the broom closet door. Power is quiet. Be louder with your grace. Maya smiled. The closet was empty now. Her mother hadn't returned to clean since the assembly. The district had given her leave for national engagements, and whispers spread that she might be nominated for the federal Supreme Court soon. But Maya knew, her mother hadn't left the closet for glory. She left because her job was done. Still, not everyone welcomed the change. Chloe's parents had filed a complaint with the school board, demanding that their daughter be protected from online harassment. Protected, from what? From her own reflection. Meanwhile, Chloe's friends began avoiding her. No more popularity. No more fake compliments. Just isolation. One afternoon in the library, Maya saw her sitting alone. They locked eyes. Chloe looked down first. In government class, the students were told to form debate teams. Maya was chosen as the moderator, a position of authority. Chloe wasn't picked at all. As students gathered into groups, Maya quietly pulled a chair beside her. "You still have a voice," she said. Chloe looked at her, confused. "Why are you helping me?" Maya didn't smile. "Because that's what my mom taught me. People grow. And some only grow after falling." Chloe nodded slowly. For the first time, she didn't say anything mean. She just listened. That evening, Maya and her mom walked through the school after hours. "Feels different now," Maya whispered. "It should," her mom replied. "You changed the air." They passed the janitor's closet. Her mom opened the door one last time. Inside, the old broom leaned against the wall. She didn't pick it up. Instead, she placed a gavel on the shelf, right next to it. "Leave this here," she said. "Let it remind them who built this school's Real foundation." 2 days later, Westmont Academy held its annual Legacy and Leadership Assembly, an event normally reserved for students whose parents had donated large sums to the school. But this year, something had changed. For the first time, Maya's name was on the speakers list. Principal Hawthorne stood at the podium, trying to maintain composure as he addressed the crowd of parents, students, and reporters. "We've witnessed great transformation this year," he said, avoiding Maya's mother's name entirely. "And it reminds us that leadership comes in many forms." Maya was called to the stage. As she walked up, phones recorded her every step. Not because she was famous, but because she had become something rarer. Respected. She stood at the podium, gripping her notes, then looked up. "I used to walk these halls with my head down. I used to feel invisible. Powerless. Ashamed." She paused. But power doesn't live in a last name. Or in a car. Or in how shiny your shoes are. It lives in knowing who you are, even when everyone around you tries to tell you otherwise. The room went still. "I am the daughter of a janitor. And I am the daughter of a Supreme Court judge. And neither of those things make me more or less than anyone here." The auditorium erupted in applause. Reporters scribbled notes. Some teachers even had tears in their eyes. Later that evening, Maya sat in the school courtyard, alone, watching the wind move the leaves across the old brick pathway. She felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. Her phone buzzed. A message from her mom. "Check the news. It's happening." Maya opened the link. Breaking: President nominates Justice Nadine Foster to federal Supreme Court bench. Her heart raced. She stared at the headline, hands trembling, not out of fear, but pride. The next day, students gathered around her locker, not to bully her, but to congratulate her. Chloe approached, awkwardly holding out a folded piece of paper. "What's this?" Maya asked. "My apology. And my recommendation, for the Harvard Junior Law Fellowship. I think you'd win." Maya took it slowly. "Thank you," she said. "But I'm not going to Harvard just because of what my mom does." Chloe nodded. "I know. You'll go because of who you are." That night, Maya sat with her mother on the rooftop of their apartment, looking at the stars. "Do you regret working that janitor job?" Maya asked. Her mother smiled. "Not even for a second. You can only lift someone if you've stood where they've fallen." Maya leaned back, her voice soft. "Then I'm going to lift as many people as I can." Weeks passed. But the story hadn't faded, it had grown. Maya's speech at the Legacy and Leadership event had gone viral. Over 4 million views. Comments from teachers, parents, and young girls across the country flooded her inbox. One message stood out. "My mom works as a cleaner too. I never told anyone at school. But now, I walk in with my head high. Thank you, Maya." She stared at that message for a long time. Something inside her shifted. Inspired, Maya asked the principal if she could start a new student organization, one focused on respect, inclusion, and untold stories. She called it Voice Unseen. Principal Hawthorne hesitated at first, then approved it, likely feeling the pressure of the media glare. At their first meeting, only 3 students showed up. By the third meeting, there were over 40. Not just scholarship students, but even rich kids who'd struggled silently with anxiety, identity, and hidden pain. One day after class, Maya caught Chloe waiting outside the library. Chloe looked nervous. "Hey. Can I talk to you?" Maya nodded. "I volunteered with the cleaning crew last weekend," Chloe admitted. "It's hard work. I didn't realize how much your mom did until I tried scrubbing a hallway myself." Maya looked at her, surprised. "Why'd you do it?" Chloe shrugged. "Guilt. Curiosity. Maybe, growth." Maya cracked a small smile. "That's a start." They walked together down the hallway, no cameras, no crowd. Just 2 girls learning how to be better. Meanwhile, across the country, Justice Nadine Foster was sworn in on national television as the newest Supreme Court justice. The president shook her hand. The news anchors spoke her name with reverence. But in a quiet moment after the ceremony, Nadine stepped aside from the flashing lights, pulled out her phone, and texted Maya. "This bench means nothing if I didn't raise a daughter like you." Back at school, Maya was invited to speak at graduation, even though she was only a junior. When asked what she wanted to do next, she answered without hesitation. "I want to become a civil rights lawyer, and eventually, a judge. But first, I want to change the way schools see people like me." The janitor's closet had become a symbol now. Some students had turned it into a respect wall, covered with sticky notes of gratitude and memories. But one note stood out, written in neat handwriting. "This closet used to hide someone powerful. Let it remind you, never judge someone by the uniform they wear." Maya read it every morning before class. And every time, she smiled. Senior year arrived faster than Maya expected. But this time, she entered Westmont Academy not with fear, but with purpose. The school had changed. Students greeted her with respect. Teachers asked for her input. Even Principal Hawthorne referred to her as Ms. Foster, now, no longer a girl from the shadows, but a leader everyone could see. And yet, Maya never forgot what it felt like to be invisible. So when the school announced a mentorship program for incoming freshmen, she was the first to volunteer. On orientation day, she met Amina, a quiet, wide-eyed girl in scuffed sneakers, nervously clutching her backpack. "My dad works in landscaping here," Amina said softly. "I didn't tell anyone." Maya smiled. "You don't have to hide that. You don't need to shrink who you are." Amina looked up. "But what if they laugh at me?" Maya leaned in. "Then you stand taller. That way, when they fall, you don't even have to bend down to forgive them." Amina blinked. Then smiled. That afternoon, Maya stopped by the janitor's closet. It had become her ritual. But today, something new was taped beside the door. A bronze plaque, freshly mounted. It read, "In honor of Justice Nadine Foster, who taught us that greatness can sweep floors, and sit on the highest bench." Tears welled in Maya's eyes. She turned to find Mr. Albert, the old janitor, watching her from down the hall. "You did this?" she asked. He nodded. "Your mom swept these halls in silence. You gave her story a voice." The following month, Maya's Voice Unseen group was selected to speak at a national education summit. On stage, Maya spoke with fire in her voice. "We walk past brilliance every day, in janitors, in lunch staff, in the quiet kid in the corner. But we don't see them, because we're trained not to look down. That's the problem. Dignity doesn't come from looking down or looking up. It comes from looking eye to eye. The audience gave a standing ovation. One school superintendent approached afterward and said, "You just changed the way I hire my staff." Back in Westmont, the walls whispered a new story now. The girl who once mopped floors in silence had become the girl whose voice built bridges between power and humility. And as Maya walked past the mirror-lined hallway, the same one where Chloe had once spilled the mop bucket, she stopped. She looked at her reflection. Then smiled. Not because she was seen. But because this time, she saw herself. Spring brought more than just flowers. It brought invitations. Maya had now received early admission offers from Yale, Columbia, and Howard University, all with full scholarships. But she hadn't made her decision yet. One evening, she sat on the floor of her tiny room, college letters scattered around her. Her mom walked in, holding 2 mugs of tea. "You know," her mom said, "I always imagined you would get here. I just didn't think the world would get to watch you do it." Maya smiled. "How did you keep going all those years?" "Cleaning, being overlooked." Her mother sat beside her. "I wasn't cleaning a school, Maya. I was clearing a path." That same week, the school board invited Maya to deliver the keynote speech at Westmont's 75th Founders Celebration, a black-tie event attended by donors, alumni, and national press. Principal Hawthorne personally handed her the invitation. His face was softer now. Less guarded. "You've made this school proud," he said. "Anne. I've learned more from you than I ever expected." Maya nodded. She didn't need an apology. Growth was enough. At the event, held at a massive city ballroom, Maya walked in wearing a simple white dress and a gold pin her mother gave her, shaped like a gavel. Reporters turned their cameras. Guests whispered. "That's her. That's the janitor's daughter who became the soul of the school." When Maya took the stage, she didn't read from a paper. She spoke from memory. "When I was 13, I was laughed at in these very hallways. When I was 14, I was shoved into lockers. When I was 15, I watched my mother clean toilets while students walked past her like she was invisible." She paused. "But when I turned 16, I stopped shrinking. And when I turned 17, I realized that sometimes, the most powerful people wear the quietest shoes." Tears fell. Applause rose. Even Chloe, sitting in the crowd with her parents, stood and clapped. After the speech, Maya's mother joined her on stage. The crowd rose to their feet once more. The MC raised a plaque. "In honor of Maya Foster, student leader, changemaker, and the daughter of a janitor who cleaned more than floors, she cleaned our perspective." Maya took the award, her hands trembling. She whispered, "Thank you." But in her heart, she thought, "This is for every kid who ever hid in shame, just for being born to someone honest." 1 month after the founders' event, Maya stood at the edge of a courtroom, not as a visitor, but as a student advocate. She had been invited to shadow a real civil rights attorney downtown after her speech went viral. Now she sat behind the plaintiff's table, taking notes, watching the wheels of justice turn. The courtroom smelled of wood polish and papers. Her mother once mopped floors in places like this. Now Maya dreamed of speaking from the center. As the judge banged the gavel, she leaned over and whispered to the lawyer, "Someday, I'll sit up there." He smiled. "I don't doubt that at all." Back at school, Maya returned with fresh fire. She launched a school-wide campaign titled, "Stories That Cleaned Our Hallways," a storytelling exhibition featuring stories of janitors, cooks, and cafeteria workers at Westmont. She personally interviewed each of them. Mr. Albert talked about raising 5 kids alone after his wife died. Ms. Jasmine, the cook, revealed she once ran a bakery in her home country before immigrating. Each story was printed, mounted on boards, and displayed in the school's main hall. Students stopped. They read. Some cried. Chloe helped hang the last poster. Maya turned to her, handing her a stapler. Do you know what the hardest part of this journey was? Chloe shook her head. Not the bullying. Not even the silence. It was being told I wasn't enough, before they even knew my name. Chloe's eyes softened. Then thank God you never believed them. Maya stapled the final sheet. I did believe them. Once. But then I looked in the mirror, and saw my mother's eyes looking back at me. That weekend, Westmont hosted a press tour. Maya guided them through the stories that cleaned our hallways exhibit. Reporters recorded. One anchor whispered into her mic, from janitor's daughter to justice warrior, Maya Foster is reshaping education from the inside out. After the tour, a younger student pulled Maya aside. I want to be like you, the girl said, eyes wide. But I don't think anyone will listen to me. Maya knelt to her level. Then speak anyway. You don't raise your voice to be heard. You raise it so others can. That night, Maya and her mom stood outside the Supreme Court building under the moonlight. I used to clean buildings like this, her mother whispered. Now I sit inside them. But nothing makes me prouder than watching you build something bigger, without needing a bench to stand on. Maya nodded. Because I already have a foundation. Graduation day. The Westmont Academy campus buzzed with excitement. Students in sleek blue robes posed for pictures, hugged friends, and tossed caps into the air. But Maya stood off to the side, not with a camera in hand, but with a notepad. Her name was at the top of the graduation speech list. This time, she wouldn't be speaking as the girl from the janitor's closet. She would be speaking as the girl who changed everything. Backstage, Principal Hawthorne approached. I know I haven't said this enough, he muttered awkwardly, but, thank you. Maya raised an eyebrow. He added, you made this school better. For everyone. Maya nodded once. Took you long enough to notice. They both chuckled, just a little. Then she stepped out into the sunlight. The crowd was enormous. Parents, press, alumni, even a few political figures lined the field. Her mother sat front row, her judge's robe neatly folded beside her, wearing a simple white dress. Maya took the mic. My name is Maya Foster. Some of you know me as a scholarship kid. Others as the janitor's daughter. And if you've been paying attention this year, you might know me as a speaker, a founder, or a storyteller. She paused. But I'm not standing here because I was better than anyone. I'm standing here because I believe that even invisible voices matter. Especially those. The wind rustled through the trees. Students listened, still as stone. My mom cleaned this school for over a decade. She never asked for recognition. She asked for fairness. And now, I carry that work forward. Not with a mop, but with a mission. She looked straight into the crowd. If you're ever underestimated, don't wait for them to see you. Build something so powerful, they'll never forget what they ignored. Applause thundered across the field. Even the teachers rose to their feet. Her mother wiped away a tear, but it wasn't sadness. It was relief. Gratitude. Pride. After the ceremony, Maya walked over to her. Ready to leave this place behind? Her mother asked. Maya smiled. Not leave it. I'm just done surviving it. They walked through the campus one last time. At the janitor's closet, someone had hung a small wreath with a note. To the woman who cleaned the floor, and raised a daughter who shook the ceiling. 3 months later, Maya stood backstage at the National Youth Civic Summit in Washington, D.C. She wore a navy blue blazer, no longer the girl in hand-me-downs. Her hair was braided neatly, her pin shaped like a gavel still tucked over her heart. In front of her, a massive auditorium buzzed with anticipation. Thousands of young leaders from across the country had gathered. Maya had been invited to deliver the closing keynote. The MC's voice rang out. Please welcome Maya Foster. The crowd exploded in applause. She stepped out, not with nerves, but with purpose. My story didn't start with power, Maya began. It started with a mop, a closet, and a name no one cared to remember. Laughter flickered through the crowd. The kind that came from knowing. My mother was a janitor. She cleaned your messes. She raised me while wiping away what others left behind. And the entire time, she carried a law degree and a fire the world ignored. The crowd fell silent. She didn't become a judge to prove anything. She became a judge to protect people like you. Like me. People whose stories never make it into textbooks. Maya's voice didn't shake. They mocked me. But it wasn't their cruelty that shaped me. It was her courage. And now, I don't speak for revenge, I speak for those who are still silent. Applause thundered. After the event, reporters swarmed her. Networks called her the voice of tomorrow. That night, she went live on social media, telling her story directly, uncut, raw, and real. Within 24 hours, her video reached over 10 million views. But Maya didn't care about the numbers. She cared about the letters. Letters from kids saying, I told my teacher I want to be a judge like you. I finally stopped hiding who my mom is. You made me proud of my family again. One morning, Maya woke up to a letter on her doorstep, hand-delivered. From the U.S. Department of Education. We'd like to invite you to help us rewrite the high school curriculum for civic leadership. She laughed. From janitor's daughter, to curriculum designer. That evening, she sat on her apartment's rooftop beside her mom, watching the sunset over the Capitol skyline. Her mother sipped tea and said quietly, You didn't just break barriers, Maya. You planted bridges. Maya smiled, her eyes fixed on the horizon. Then I hope people walk across them barefoot, so they feel where we started. 1 year later. A sleek black car pulled up in front of Westmont Academy. Not a limousine. Not a government vehicle. Just a clean, quiet sedan with tinted windows. Out stepped Maya Foster. Now 18. Taller. Stronger. Her name known in homes and classrooms across the country. She had returned, not for recognition, but for something greater. To build something that would outlast her name. Inside the school library, Maya met with the new headmaster. Principal Hawthorne had retired, citing health and growth. The headmaster stood to greet her. You're here for the project? Maya nodded. Yes. I want to fund a new center. A permanent space, for students whose voices were once invisible. She handed over a folder labeled The Foster Center for Leadership, Equity, and Storytelling. The headmaster flipped through the pages. Funded entirely by donations. No branding. No corporate logos. Just books. Mentors. A safe space. A place to honor the unheard. Later that day, Maya walked the old halls. She peeked into the janitor's closet, still intact, still filled with the scent of floor polish and memory. She didn't go inside. Instead, she turned and faced the hallway mural now painted across the wall. A young black girl holding a mop in one hand, and a gavel in the other. Students walked past, snapping photos. One whispered, That's her. Another whispered back, No, that's who she used to be. At the center's construction site behind the school, Maya met with volunteers and former staff. Mr. Albert arrived late, wiping sweat from his brow. He laughed. I used to carry mops. Now I'm holding blueprints. Maya grinned. You're still building something. Just different tools now. Back home, her mom watched her from the kitchen window, standing in front of the mirror, preparing for a TV interview. I still can't believe she came from me, she said. A voice answered from behind, She didn't come from you. She was raised by you. You gave her your fire. She just lit the world with it. It was Ms. Jasmine, the former school cook, now working as head of nutrition for the city. They smiled. Maya's voice echoed in every hallway she once feared. But now, those halls didn't echo back with laughter. They echoed with respect. And as the construction began on the Foster Center, a brick was laid in her name. Not in marble. Not in gold. But in stone, because she was built from it. 10 years later. A little girl in bright red shoes stepped nervously into the front lobby of Westmont Academy, gripping her father's hand. She looked up at a towering mural just above the entrance. A woman in robes. Strong. Unbent. Holding her daughter's hand. The girl tugged on her dad's sleeve. "Who's that?" The father smiled. "That's Maya Foster. She changed this place forever." Inside the newly completed Foster Center, students from all backgrounds, immigrants, first-gen, foster kids, scholarship students, sat in circles sharing their stories. One read aloud a letter. To the girl who used to clean the floor. "Thank you for reminding the world we've always had power. We just needed space to grow into it." Maya wasn't at the school that day. She was in court, wearing black robes of her own now. She had been confirmed as one of the youngest judges in her state. Not because of political connections. But because of years of service, sacrifice, and story. That morning, she presided over a school discrimination case. A young student sat trembling in the witness box, facing adults who doubted her worth. Maya leaned forward gently. "You are seen. You are heard. And in my court, your voice is enough." Tears fell. Not just from the student, but from the girl Maya once was. That evening, Maya visited her mother's grave. The sun was setting, casting soft gold over the stone. The headstone read, "Justice Nadine Foster, she cleaned the world without needing to wash it away." Maya knelt, placing a small bouquet of jasmine beside it. "I'm everything I am because you never let them define you." She stood up, brushed the dirt from her knees, and walked back to her car. Inside the back seat, a little notebook. Its title, The Janitor's Daughter. She was turning it into a book. Not for fame. Not for legacy. For the girls like her still sweeping quiet hallways. At the next school assembly, a fifth grader stepped onto stage and said proudly, "My mom works in sanitation. And she's my hero." The crowd didn't laugh. They cheered. Because Maya had shifted more than minds. She shifted culture. As she watched from the back of the auditorium, Maya smiled. Not because her name was on the walls. But because kids were finally walking through doors that used to be locked, carrying their parents' stories like crowns, not curses.